Okay, my name is Hans Jonsson, and I am currently a professor in occupational therapy and occupational science.
Our group of 5 had the honor to interview occupational scientist Dr. Hans Jonsson. Not only were we ecstatic to interview someone who is so established and recognizable in the area of occupational science, but we were interested to hear from a non-American perspective. Throughout our interview, we learned much about Hans Jonsson, his career, his impact in the field of occupational science, and so much more. He gave us a unique insight into life as a scientist in Europe and some of the main differences of occupational science between Europe and the United States that he has noticed in his career. While we could play clips from our Zoom interview, we would prefer to show you a true insight into what life is like from the perspective of Dr. Jonsson himself. All stories and facts are based on information given during the interview and group research.
Hans Jonsson was born in Sweden, 2 hours south of Stockholm. He moved to Stockholm when he was 18 and says it is a very interesting and unique city. Prior to developing an interest in occupational science, Hans worked in construction. He later decided he may want to re-enter schooling, but he did not know what he would be interested in studying.
One of Dr. Jonsson's friends recommended that he consider a job working in the field of occupational therapy in a hospital setting. He found the idea of working with individuals who experience strokes both exciting and rewarding, as he could help them transition back into their old occupations and create new ones. He then looked to attend schooling to become an occupational therapist. After learning about the field of occupational therapy, Hans then applied and was admitted to Sana University studying occupational therapy. He spoke about how surprised he was to see that he was one of very few men in the program, and eventually in the field. Dr. Jonsson then received his degree to begin practicing in the field in 1977. He eventually earned a PhD in clinical neuroscience and elderly care research.
The practicing occupational therapist, Dr. Jonsson followed his pursuit of working with individuals who had suffered strokes when he started his work as an occupational therapist in the hospital setting. He also conducted research on Swedish retirees and how their transition to retirement impacted or changed their values in occupations after retiring. Dr. Hans Jonsson was involved internationally with his attempt to support occupational therapy development. He is proud of supporting occupational therapy in Ghana, Kenya, and various European countries where occupational therapy was not yet at a university level. Dr. Hans Jonsson traveled throughout Europe to practice and expand the fields of occupational therapy. He was involved in multiple European programs in Portugal, Switzerland, Poland, Sweden, Spain, and Germany, where he was a scientific head for years. His main goal was to increase the status of occupational therapy and stress the importance of occupational science by continuing to educate students of occupational science. Dr. Jonsson's latest position was as a professor in Denmark, where he had his first full professor title and supported the research and development of occupational science and occupational therapy.
Hans has been a very successful author and has wrote 52 published articles, co-authored 15 books, and plans to write 4 to 5 more in the future. His favorite article and one he's most proud of is written with Helen J. Polidako and is called Articulating an Occupational Perspective. This article gives a unique perspective on human beings and their occupations. Hans currently lives in Stockholm, Sweden. Since 1998, Hans has been working for the Department of Occupational Therapy at Karolinska Institute in Solna, Stockholm, Sweden. He still teaches here to this day. In the future, Hans envisions writing an article discussing how important it is that occupational therapists and scientists study psychology.
We admired Dr. Jonsson's dedication to the topic and thought it would be beneficial to hear our favorite talking point from the interview firsthand.
My vision would be, that you, I suppose, within your OT program, you read psychology, I suppose, and you find that quite natural. And my vision would be that to read occupational science for people that are going to be psychologists would be as natural as reading psychology for people that are going to be occupational scientists or occupational therapists, because they also need to know that this is an perspective, quite a unique perspective, to understand people and to provide change in therapy in that way, by actually people doing things, in that way. And
our group was so thankful for the opportunity to speak with such a kind and well-spoken occupational scientist. We only hope that someday we are just as impactful as Dr. Hans Jonsson is in the field of occupational science and occupational therapy.
So my advice for you would be to take on that challenge and continue to work in that, and I assure you, you will have progress.